Greetings, all! Today, we will be examining the relatively rare Dragon Ice-type Pokemon Frigibax, its rare evolution Arctibax, the two collectively known as the Ice Fin Pokémon, and the final, exceptionally rare evolution Baxcalibur, the Ice Dragon Pokémon. Though hard to find outside the icy wastelands they tend to call home, the members of the Frigibax family are fascinating beasts that can use the power of the cold to an exceptional degree to fight off anyone that would dare to enter into their territory.
Frigibax have small, stout, grayscale bipedal bodies, with short arms and legs of 3 digits each, as well as a small tail, a pair of yellow tassel-like growths on their arms, and a single dark blue-green spine on their back. They further feature a light green snout with small nostrils, a mouth with a dark blue-green interior, and large black eyes with yellow sclera that sit beneath a crest of flesh and bone just above their eyelids. Their evolved form Arctibax have a slightly hunched form by comparison with bluish-gray scales, light blue-gray claws on their hands and feet, a long tail, and a pair of dark yellow tassel growths on their forearms. Their dorsal spine has a thicker frame, with a series of icy spines that grow on its sides, and while the head crest is smoothed out, they now have icy eyebrows as well as a front plate of ice that covers their nose and mouth. Their final evolution, Baxcalibur, have an upright form with dark bluish-gray scales, 3 orangish-red tassels that grow from the wrist, and a series of blue, icy armored hexagonal plates that cover the kneecaps and belly area. The icy plates that cover the face are now craggier, larger in size, and their dorsal spine has grown immensely in size, taking on a thicker, barbed form that sticks out prominently from their back. Unlike most other Dragon-type Pokemon, the members of the Frigibax family are unique for their capacity to not only survive in cold environments, but are actually able to wield the power of the Ice-type naturally to an effective enough degree that they are considered to be partial Ice-types themselves. This is only possible for them because of their dorsal spine, which is specially adapted to be able to absorb thermal energy from the surroundings and even the attacks of other Pokemon, and process it in order to generate frigid energy instead. The exact mechanism that is responsible for this power is not entirely understood, but it does give these beasts unique access to the signature thermal exchange ability, which gives them a notable offensive power boost to their attack stat when they're hit by a fire-type attack, and keeps them from ever getting burned under normal circumstances, and thus gives them a unique advantage over those that try to bring a bit of heat to the frigid lands they call home. This power can also stack with repeated levels of exposure, so the more that they are exposed to, the more energy these creatures can then store in their bodies to make them a serious nuisance to deal with. Thankfully, their access to Ice-type special attacks is fairly limited, so they don't have much in the way of projectile attacks to use in that respect, but they can still make the most of that power to deliver nasty physical attacks, like Icicle Crash, or even have it replaced with a greater healing factor when snow or hailstorms of any sort, thus having access to Ice Body as a hidden ability, and thus can be a dire threat to deal with on their own. As far as the stats are concerned, in the case of Baxcalibur, these beasts show considerable power in most of the stats, and are able to make good use of it as an Ice-type to trounce others, with only their base special attack stat being below average for a fully evolved Ice-type Pokemon, and their base HP and attack stats are above average for a fully evolved Dragon and Ice-type Pokemon, possessing the highest base stat total out of all non-legendary Ice and Dragon-type Pokemon, the latter tied with Dragonite, Salamence, Garchomp, Hydreigon, Goodra, Kommo-o, and Dragapult, as well as Arcaludon, and a massive attack stat that can help them smash through any non-metallic barrier that dares to impede their progress. While Frigibax are known to occasionally be seen in craggy rocky environments, and even forests in some cases, they primarily prefer to live within icy environments where they can wield the Ice-type freely with little issue, and this can make them tricky to both locate and deal with, since they tend to only show up when they know they are safe from attack by potential predators. Moreover, in the cases where they nest in caves and other underground locations, they use their thermal regulation powers to chill the inside of their cavernous nest, making the entire area as frigid and cold as the outside is, if not even more so. This can make hunting for them fairly easy for those that are committed to cave exploration and the cavern territory, but they are also often the presence of their evolutions in these cases, and thus can be a bit more to handle than some might otherwise think. Thankfully, these beasts are not very aggressive at a young age, and can be readily handled with the right amount of work, though caution is still recommended when it comes to close contact. Their penchant for chilling their surroundings in their own bodies means that these little dragons are painfully cold to the touch, and can cause severe frostbite in just a few minutes of physical contact, so gloves and other protection are highly recommended if you desire to show them physical affection. As Frigibax grow and develop and eventually evolve into Arctibax, their capacity to use cold as a weapon in battle increases, and as a consequence, they become capable of generating ice over their bodies in order to provide not only armor to help protect them against attack, especially on their face, but also allows them to make a weapon out of the dorsal spine they use to process energy in the first place. In this state of evolution, a thick, sharp series of spines made of ice develop on the dorsal fin that not only makes them more intimidating, but also provides them a new way to attack others in close quarters. While they might not look it, these beasts have very strong backs and leg muscles that are primarily used for hauling their frame up over steep cliffs in the icy habitats, but they can also be used to allow Arctibax to leap into the air and use a front flip to then fall and strike potential enemies with their back, stabbing the icy spines into them to inflict critical damage on their frames. This nasty attack can leave open wounds that can then be readily exposed to frostbite, making it much easier for them to take down large prey to get a handy meal in the otherwise desolate territory. This tactic is something that will serve as the inspiration for the signature Glaive Rush attack when they eventually evolve into their full adult form, but for now, it can still make them a dire threat in the wild and an attack worth avoiding at all costs. The only real issues these creatures have is that the ice on them can be shattered with enough force to leave them vulnerable, but this might take some time to commit to, and thus must be used as a cautious strategy to avoid getting impaled by their frames in the process.
Evolution into Baxcalibur grants these beasts not only a much greater sense of control over the power of their attacks, but makes them extremely dangerous for both Dragon and Ice-type specialists to use, let alone encounter in the wild.
When these beasts reach an adult state, they gain the ability to spew icy breath from their mouths that is cold enough to solidify lava with almost instant exposure, and often use this power to not only deliver potent ice shard attacks and even a snowscape technique, but also make it possible for them to freeze others solid in an instant before shattering them with their breaking swipe attack that they also gain access to in evolution. As with Arctibax, these dragons have incredibly strong leg muscles and can freely jump into the air and even do flips in order to get the drop on opponents, and this is often combined with their frigid breath to freeze opponents solid before destroying them with their other physical attacks. What makes these beasts truly stand out, however, is the signature Glaive Rush attack, which involves them charging the icy bodies with draconic energy before leaping and flipping to slam their dorsal spines into a target with maximum force. This attack is incredibly powerful and is normally perfectly accurate, but it leaves these beasts vulnerable as a side effect, planting them on their backs for a bit and leaving them open to not only a surefire hit for the next attack against them, but with double the damage it would normally inflict. This can make the move a risky attack to try and make use of, but given that these beasts have an insanely high base attack stat to work with, it nonetheless makes the most of their natural powers, and given that they tend to be extremely ruthless and aggressive towards any that violate their territory, avoiding them is the best tactic for dealing with them in the wild, as few species can adequately go toe-to-toe with them without experiencing the worst their frigid frames can deliver in a fight.
While most types of dragons abhor the cold and want nothing to do with it, the members of the Frigibax family more than show that it's possible to not only make use of it, but have it embody much of their overall combat powers. Frigibax nicely keep to the trend of these beasts, looking utterly adorable as juveniles, and can make good use of their small frames to get out of the way of enemy fire if needed. They might take a bit of time necessary to use flies-type physical strikes, but it can be worth the wait given the power they can acquire as adults. Arctibax serve as a great stepping stone for further growth here, and can make better use of their natural ice-type powers for long-distance fights, even if their special attacks might not be all that powerful. At the very least, they can give a good glimpse of where's to come in time, and have enough offensive power to still make a statement as they develop into adults. Baxcalibur exists at the pinnacle of power for their family, and possess astounding physical strength to them, only slightly beaten out by the likes of Haxorus in terms of non-legendary dragons, and they make great use of this power to smash and demolish anything and anyone that thinks they can handle their icy forms in close quarters combat. The signature Glaive Rush attack might leave them in a highly vulnerable state after use, but the sheer power of the attack and the ease with which they can actually use it nonetheless helps cement them as terrible forces that you don't want to underestimate in any sort of confrontation.
Cold to the touch, and more than able to make others into frozen treats at a moment's notice, the members of the Frigibax family are powerful beasts that can ensure that anyone that dares to get close to them will feel more than just a cold shoulder. It might take some time for them to reach an adult state, but the wait can be more than worth it once you see the draconic and frigid powers at their disposal that others can only dream of.
Just do yourself a favor and make sure you don't overestimate what you can do to combat their prowess in a fight. They might not be the sturdiest of creatures in some minor regards, but they might not matter much when they come rushing towards you fin first, ready to plow into you and skewer you before making you the biggest popsicle you and your Pokemon have likely ever seen.
Thank you all for watching this video. It always brings me great joy to see others enjoying the work I do to try and make the world of Pokemon and the fascinating creatures that lay inside of it feel as real as they possibly can. If you really enjoy my work, please feel free to leave a comment and subscribe, as I always do my best to respond to any and all comments that are left on my videos. In addition, if you wish to learn more about my work and help support it, you can find links to my Patreon page, as well as email and other contact information to my work on DeviantArt in the video description down below. Furthermore, you can find a link to my Discord server there as well if you'd like to get a first glimpse at what videos are coming up next and converse with other fans of the world of Pokemon. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and have a wonderful rest of your day.